He'd only been joking when he asked for a full English breakfast every morning as part of his contract. He'd been thinking about concert riders and diva requests, and the idea had just come into his head. The Emiratis had thought it was hilarious. Full English sense of humour, they'd said, and then they'd shaken on it, and then there it was, in his contract, like a rock star. It probably isn't easy to get bacon and proper sausage in Dubai, or find a chap to cook it. It reminds him of when he was first starting out on site in the Midlands, early 80s, on a shopping centre or a corporate HQ or something, and he'd go little chef once a week for a treat. The sort of thing he'd always promised himself, and now he can do it, he can swing it. The Emiratis think that much of him. It's hot that morning, the same heat that he felt at the airport, in the hired car, in the hotel before the maintenance guys scrambled to fix the aircon. The same heat all the time. That's why they need him out here, shake things up, show a bit of imagination. This lot struggle with that, even the rich ones. During his induction sessions, they show him the plans for Financial City, Business Beach, the Mall of Dubai. It all looks the fucking same. It'll be the heat, or haram, or something. That morning, his first morning on site at Outer Commercial District, he wears a Black Sabbath t-shirt. Part of him thinks some of the stricter Muslims might be freaked out by it. They won't get it because, well, probably even less Sabbath out here than proper sausage. But he's a rock star, full English rock star. That's what they want from him. And like a rock star, he's fashionably late on site. Could never have got away with this at Ulster Business Park. Massive Ray-Bans too, an airport purchase. It's a good aesthetic, it'll photograph well. He hopes that lad from International Construction isn't too hungover and will actually turn up. He actually doesn't think he'll get on the cover of International Construction, but fuck, that'd be nice. It's 2 years since 9/11 and the Emiratis are desperate for good publicity. The West and the East working hand in hand, handshakes in front of fields of cranes, all that bollocks. Arab money and British know-how, and he's the poster boy for the know-how, raising a city out of the dust and looking cool as fuck while he's doing it. If this is the white man's burden, he can handle it. He passes through the gateway to the site, tucking his photo ID pass into the rim of his safety helmet like a press guy's hat. Not ideal practice, but what's going to happen? Some idiot local's going to nick it from the only white guy on site. There are less guys on site than he expects, and those that are mainly stare at him. It's still early, maybe some holiday of theirs. Maybe prayers whenever they have prayers with that shouty bloke in the tower. The crane is a used Liebherr hammerhead, maximum 12 tons. For him it's very standard, but some of these guys may never have seen anything this tall, let alone had to climb it. They'll lose their minds when they see Outer Commercial District in 20 years' time, assuming Emirati health and safety looks after them for that long. He'll need to do a couple of sessions solo, then with whoever has been assigned to it, so he can train them. He hopes these lads have good English. There's not much room up in the cabin for a translator too. The site foreman has good English, but keeps apologising that so many guys haven't shown up. Big problem to get men to work here. They tell stories, old stories. This place has a bad name. He tells the site foreman that a proper site foreman wouldn't let this happen, establish his dominance. Then he smiles and tells the site foreman he won't repeat this when management are on site later, establishes dependence and camaraderie. Before management come on site later, he's going to do a recce of the crane. The site foreman thinks there might be a small sandstorm coming, but it's been established that the site foreman isn't shit hot. He tells the site foreman he's been up hammerheads before, in driving rain in Wallasey, gale force winds in Gateshead, some other shithole near Aberdeen he couldn't remember the name of, where he got actual frostbite in a finger. And of course in 30 plus UK heat waves. It's mainly where he's got his tan from. He has to admit to himself though that this is not like a UK heat wave. It's a heat that wraps around you like water, thickening the air into claggy steam. He's not a fucking idiot. He slipped on plenty of sunblock, can't have the crane consultant looking like a lobster. But he left it in the hotel, and he's going to sweat up there. No nice cool British breezes. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. He'll keep it brisk and efficient, get it done before midday, when it'll be even hotter. Doesn't want a smug management guy quoting Mad Dogs and Englishmen at him. He clips himself into the safety harness, a couple of hard yanks against the guardrail. Nothing comes loose, nothing frays. A big thumbs up to the site foreman and a couple of others who've shown up. He turns to the ladder, slips his glove on, checks he's got the keys for the access hatch and the controls, then turns back to the little group watching him and points to a tall guy at the back. When I come back down, I want Beanpole there in a hard hat, yeah? They turn to look, then stare back at him, faces blank and uncertain. Fuck's sake, this lot probably don't grow beans up poles here. Another fucking thing to explain. The 200-odd foot climb is actually not that bad. There is a breeze picking up, moaning through the structure of the tower, probably the sandstorm, but he'll be in the cabin before it hits. A couple of times he stops, looks down, and gives a wave to the chaps at the base of the crane. A couple of them wave back. He thinks he can see one of them, the tall one at the back, mouthing something at him. The sound is lost in the staticky ruffle of air at this height. Mainly the chaps at the base just stare. He opens the access hatch, the next obvious hurdle. He's half expected the site foreman to mess up the keys somehow, but fair play, this hasn't happened. And the site foreman was right about the sandstorm too. Off to the north it's getting progressively hazy, and he feels grit on the wind against his skin and between his lips. It'll be all right, they don't last long. He can sit it out in the cabin. He clambers up into the cabin, putting the hatch back down, and slips into the seat. The view out of the window is shit, frankly. A strip of pucy yellow above a strip of darker yellow, half bisected by the jib. All the fucking same. Check, check, he says into his two-way radio. Check, check, cabin, crackles the site foreman in reply. OK, maybe this chap's not a disaster. Must work with a lot of immigrants, and he knows just how bullshit that is. He runs through the hammerhead checking procedure, the switches, the levers, the viewpoints. One of them towards the end he gets stuck on, and he clicks his fingers at it angrily. He's on the point of remembering when the cabin fills with a shriek like a bunch of keys down a car door. Check, check, cabin, says the site foreman over the radio. Check, check, base, he replies. Sandstorm incoming, we get under cover. Be safe up there, inshallah. Thanks, base, he says. When he gets back down, he'll mention the radio reception. Can't be giving out already, surely. He glances up at the window again, and the pucy yellow is turning into muddy grey. The storm must be coming in from behind him, swirling around the cabin, like he's in a diving bell going under the sea. There are a couple of groans from the structure. They're normal. It'll be the temperature outside changing. He watches the dust from the storm envelop the jib, making it fade back towards him. There's no noise except for the sand in the storm, like the patter of TV snow. The sunlight gets thinner, weaker. It's nice. He'll see if he can get a little battery fan up here. A couple of footy stickers. There is a bang on the roof of the cabin. It startles him at first. It'll do that when you're 200 feet up. It happened in Port Talbot once, and it turned out to be a seagull. The bastard made a nest. They have seagulls out here. If not, they must have something. Hawks or crows or vultures, some big scavenging dickhead. Something taps down the roof of the cabin and then back again. Things having a walk about, staying out of the sandstorm. Then another one bumbles down the other side. It's getting like Piccadilly Circus up here. He strains his ears, listening for when one of them inevitably squawks at the other. Instead he hears a laugh, a little kiddie chuckle. There's another one as the steps flit across the cabin roof again, like there's two little uns playing up there. He tries to remember the seagulls in Port Talbot. They sounded a bit like that, didn't they? Like they're giggling at him. Maybe out here they sound different, like that thing he heard about cows having different accents. He's staring at the ceiling of the cabin and doesn't see what clinks against the window. Something up at the top, something caught up in the storm, something that glinted in the feeble sun for a second. It feels hot in the cabin, different heat from before. This is coming from inside him, from just under his skin. He can feel sweat in his eyes, but he doesn't want to blink. If he stops looking at the window... He tugs himself around, out of the seat, towards the access hatch. He opens it and inhales. The air is thick, harsh, gravelly, but it's not the air in the cabin, and that's good enough. The fuzz in the air is louder, and for a minute it blocks out everything he heard in the cabin. He feels a movement on his chest and opens his eyes in time to watch his radio disappear into the murk below. Ah, fuck's sake, he says, and squints down the tower, seeing if he can see where it lands. Everyone's under cover from the storm, so frankly, if any of them cop it in the head, it's their own fault. He can't see anything. He can see something. He can see something dark on the ladder, moving up the ladder, walking up the ladder without holding on like it's coming upstairs. The tattered hair and torn fabric that drapes it sway in the moaning wind. He sees two orbs in the blackness of its head, pale like eyes and getting wider, wider. All the way up, it looks at him. When the sandstorm passes, the site foreman finds the smashed radio. With binoculars he can see that the access hatch is open and the cabin is empty. Management decide that the consultant tried to climb out in the storm, fell and was covered by the sand. When his body is found, they will contact the British Embassy.